Sure. So yeah, I'm Dave Hornak. I'm in Oxford, Ohio, where the University of Miami, Ohio is. So yeah, we've had two. We have two concepts. We oversee one unit that has about 75 employees and another that has about 100 employees. So quite a few employees, really, between the two. Um, yeah, I mean, my job is I'm a partner first and foremost, but I'm also a director of operations. So I oversee both the locations from a food and development standpoint to an operational standpoint to marketing. I do have an accounting team, so that's nice for me because that's probably the least favorite job I have, which is accounting.
Yeah.
But you have to pay the bills. So, but no, it's fun. Fun business to be in for sure. Obviously, we've had our hard knocks over the past 5 or 6 years, but I really feel we're coming out of it. More so every seems like every month. It just seems like we're seeing better results. And so Gaslight Brewhouse is a brewhouse concept. We do not brew beer, but we are a house of beers. We have 28 taps of beers. It's before Pickle and Pig came around, it was upscale casual. Has everything on the menu because we didn't know at that point we were going to do more concepts. So we really wanted to have steaks and seafood, pastas, but it's burgers, it's wraps, appetizers, kind of high energy, a lot of TVs as a brew house would. And then we, a few years later, developed Pickle and Pig, which is where I'm at today. It is a upscale concept, so higher end menu. It's all 1920s. There's no TVs in this place at all. So our servers are called bootleggers. We try to really hang our hats on the whole bootlegger prohibition theme.
Yeah.
A lot of great upscale cocktails, and then really a menu that only has 28 items on it. But it's anything from a high-end $60 prime rib bone-in steak, or a seafood item like sea bass, type of things. So a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun to be had, and it's great to have concepts where you have a mid to high end and then a high end concept. So fun to play with. Really interesting when you go between the two concepts, how the energy is different, but fun at both.
Yeah. You know what I love about these two concepts too. You said earlier you have in one of these you have about 75 employees, and in the other concept you have about 100 employees. And with that number of with so many teammates and and an upscale menu, there must be tons and tons of upselling opportunities that and just a tremendous amount that your staff has to know in order to really kind of get it right, in order to really to make the most out of a guest experience. Can you explain, like, when you're training large staffs and large teams like that, what kind of challenges were you trying to solve?
Well, you just hit the biggest one on the head, which is upselling. That is an art that has really gone away. Which, when we actually get to the crush of things, one of the reasons why I chose Shifty is the unique training method that Beth came up with. But I think it's tough because you have a lot of college students working for you. You're into Gen Z now, so, and I'm not sure what the next one is, but we're about to see them. So retention. It's not that retention's not there. The system and how you get them to retain that information and why that information is important
Yeah.
is critical, because you can have a pre-shift meeting. You could really go thoroughly over an item you want them to upsell, but getting them at the table to not order take is, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. And so when you think about, you mentioned it, we're at Gen Z today, tomorrow we're Gen Alpha,
Yeah.
and you can see generationally, there are different learning styles, right? There's different ways in which you can get ideas across to staffs and teams. What was it about the Shifty methodology that really kind of sold you on, like, okay, my people are going to get this. They're going to understand this, or at least it's going to give them the best chance at understanding what those upsell opportunities are, and frankly, the most about our brands.
Yeah, I think, what did I feel when I first saw Shifty that kind of turned the lights on for me? And I
Yeah,
think really the first thing was is that it was app based, which for where we're at was key. If you give them something that's 50 pages printed on paper, you're already done. Page one, forget it. So the fact that they had it on a phone, they could click an app button on their phone, that was a win right there. But then as we started to onboard and Beth started going through, the whole usage of the flashcard system, at first I was like, I'm not sure how that's going to work. But as we got into it, boy, is that probably one of the key factors to having our team members just literally on a phone with someone else on a phone, just doing these flashcards that I don't even know if they know what flashcards are anymore, but that system, that methodology works. Our GM here at Pickle and Pig, she was using a secondary app that she actually was doing something similar. It was called Quizlet, and she was doing Quizlets with them at the pre-shift meetings. And they would rate, who did what, and how well they did. And they seemed to be having, a good time with that. So this just seemed like, a natural element to it. And there's much more as we'll break down as we go, but that was probably what really initiated the conversation further.
Yeah, it's that flashcard that what is it? The tried and true learning methodology that's been used now for I don't know decades.
Yeah.
But when you can really zero it in on your brand, your concept with your menu and the vibe that you're trying to create, that level of customization, I think that's what's really makes it special,
Mhm.
opposed to trying to retrofit flashcards, perhaps using another app that wasn't necessarily designed for restaurant training.
Right. Right. And it's easy to use. Once you go through the system with the trainer and the management team, really it just comes down to repetition. The more
Yeah.
they do it, the better they are. And then it's just like go.
So there are a bunch of, engagement is an important aspect nowadays for for restaurant staffs. You mentioned earlier, retention's always something that uh, is important. You're always trying to hold on to your employees for as long as you can. What other types of features with Shifty do you find that you're getting more engagement with? Is it this? I know they have scheduling. There's anonymous uh, tip
Feedback. Yeah.
boxes. Yeah, yeah. I mean, tell me a little bit about some of these different features that you may be aware of that your staff is using to better engage.
Yeah. The what features are enticing to us that we're seeing results from with Shifty would be right there, anonymous feedback. For me, I've used a few different platforms in the past, but to me, it was the use on them is typically negative.
Yeah.
It's more of a garbage dump. But what I've seen with the anonymous feedback from Shifty has been predominantly positive. I've had we do a pizza, a shake, and a burger of the month at Gaslight. I've had lots of, hey, you should do these. What about these ideas? I've had positive feedback towards management.
Okay.
Hey, so and so really does a good job. You should give them a raise. Type of stuff like that. So there's been very little negativity on it. So I find that interesting. And you don't get a lot of them. I probably get one a week
Okay.
from Gaslight and Pig, maybe one every other week or so. And I'm kind of always still, even though we've been doing this for some months now, I still get kind of, I'm like, oh, there's an anonymous. What is it?
Yeah. Right.
Type of
Right. Right.
thing,
Yeah.
type of deal. And I think the other thing is interesting, which you didn't mention, is the checklist
I'm
feature.
glad you brought that up, as a matter of fact, because that's something that's a critical part of the work of your daily workflow.
It's I won't say it's more important than training because the training is why we're doing this, but just from an operational standpoint,
Yeah.
to do the bathroom checklist and see it, we have it set up where it basically informs the management team, hey, it's time to do a restroom checklist, and then to have the team fulfill it, see it get completed, boom. We've never had restrooms cleaned like we have now with a checklist that's on an app on your phone. And all the team has it. So, opening line checks, they were a thing that we're just struggling with, getting Sandy buckets out. Now the Sandy buckets are 100% every day.
I love
They
it.
got to take a picture. The checklist functions on it aren't just that they're clicking a button. You can set it up where, you got to take photos for the checklist, and that photo is the checklist. And you can't just go into your photo library and say, I've cataloged this Sandy bucket. You have to click the camera button on your phone. Just the security of knowing that things are getting done now, opening and closing checklists by managers and bar checklists. I mean, we've host stand checklists and dining room checklists, side work. We've got them all built in there. And probably one of the more unique features above and beyond training is the checklist feature. So we're very ecstatic about that.
Yeah, I love that too. And that's got to feel really good when when you get the notifications that things are being done, or even more importantly, that things aren't being done.
Right.
You get that notification as well. So I want to shift gears for a second and talk about implementation, because I think that one of the scary parts about any training application is like, perhaps you go through a demo and you'll see Shifty in action, and Beth, another teammate on the Shifty side will show you all of the things that it can do, and then you might be scratching your head. Well, this is fantastic, but how the heck am I going to get this thing implemented? How was the implementation process for you with Shifty, and did you feel like they had a good methodology for getting this rolled out, and how did that dynamic work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the implementation process from Beth and her team, I probably, and I'm not just saying this because I'm being interviewed
Yeah,
for
sure.
Shifty here. I will have to say it's probably up there with one of the better implementation processes. Just, I will say Beth and her team want to make sure that we understand it, and still, even today, we're having live, Zoom calls, follow up sessions, type of thing. And, really from the beginning, I think, sending over all of what we had, which, we thought we had pretty in-depth training, and probably we had too in-depth of training, too much information. So we were struggling from ownership down to, we thought, hey, we really want to make sure our team has it all. And so we put all of it together. And when I say 50 pages of print, yeah, 50 pages with quizzes, so sending everything over, the menu process was probably one of the best processes I've seen where, you know, Shifty is really a robust platform. When
Right.
you
And they're
thought
doing a large chunk of I mean, you're giving them the
yeah,
information, but they're putting it in there.
all
And
of it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we built some flashcards.
yeah,
But when you talk about the training and the photos and the menu links,
yeah,
if you type on mild buffalo sauce, it literally shows you every menu item on the menu that would go into
right.
buttermilk ranch dressing. It really helps when you're building flashcards for training, and when we have the food training.
Hmm.
It used to be just full color pictures with, hey, here's what's in it. Here's a fun fact. It's hot. Here's some allergy. Now, it's alive, it's interactive. So now when they're in there looking at a food item, it tells you, hey, this item's on all these other items, and you can
Right.
click on those other items. It's really well done. So that part was really good. The process, there was definitely some back and forth, like, hey, we need this still, or we didn't have that, but that's all natural in anything you're doing.
Yeah.
But I will say when they said we're turning it over to you, we've got the template done. Take a look at it. I was impressed with both restaurants. So, right off the bat. So definitely kudos to the Shifty team. It was painless. The biggest thing for us, which probably is a question coming up, is now you've got that implementation done. We got to start using it. So, that's probably a question coming up.
Well, thanks for the segue there, David. So tell me a little bit about how you guys are using it. I mean, maybe you can throw out some examples of it on the floor. And as a follow up to that, maybe after we go there, I'd like to get your opinion too about phones on the floor and what that means. And that used to be extremely taboo, and then like real life started happening. And
Yeah. So to start with, the question, I guess, in regards to post implementation, putting it into practice, putting it into use.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably a little bit of a bigger struggle for us, and mainly because with anything new, how do you use it? Because now we know it's all the information's all in there, but we've done two, three, four Zooms. We've had a few phone calls, but now you got to get that first person through it, and so the managers are pretty good at it and they're doing it. But now you got to train the trainer. So how do you come up with that? So that might be some feedback for Beth. Actually, is maybe a good train the trainer doc or something that kind of goes through it. But we did have plenty of calls with Beth and her team,
Hmm.
and she's definitely gracious enough to have as many as you need, which again is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Even today, Gaslight, we're 8, 9 months into it now. So Pickle and Pig, I think we're 4 months in now, and I can get on a calendar doc with Beth Friday and spend 30 minutes with her just
Yeah.
refreshing. So I think, the usage part was interesting. I feel at both locations we have arrived. I think the teams, and I go in and I check things weekly and I can see where someone's at in their training. And from my level, that's awesome because I just want to make sure we're using it because I'm paying money for it. But the most important thing is I want to start to see 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, I want to see the fruits of our labor and the rewards of better food knowledge, better training, actually going through training and not just throwing the keys at someone and saying, okay, you followed someone for a day, now it's your turn.
Right.
All those things happen in restaurants. And, I get it. I'm a realist, even as a, ownership guy and director of ops. We've got two restaurants. This isn't a corporation. We don't have a huge training team that goes out and, make sure we're following this and following that. So that's probably another big reason for a small operator why something like this matters and works. And then as far as the cell phone on the floor, you know, I used to run corporate from a high level. And yeah, back in the day, it was absolutely taboo. You did not pull your cell phone out, and unless it was an emergency.
Right.
But I will tell you, over the past 3, 4, 5 years, it's been a little less. Now, what the policy was is as long as it's not in the sight line of our guests.
Hmm.
But then you find them in the back on their, so it's just a matter of keeping our team moving, keeping them busy. Nothing's changed there in 50 to 100 years.
Right.
It's manager says, manager does, and just keep your team busy. But from a training standpoint and a checklist standpoint, they got to use them,
Yeah.
and or iPads,
Well,
and we
too, I would
find
even think
both.
though, going back to on the floor for a second, because there's this, the idea, food allergies now are, you know, more prevalent than ever before, and what ingredients are incorporated into these different menu items becomes, a question that your staff handles every day. Does this have peanuts? Does this have dairy? Does this have gluten, etc.? How simple is it now for them to just pull out the phone and get the answer quickly right there, as opposed to to go back into the old binder that may or may not be updated?
Yeah, it's well, we use Toast as a POS platform, so
Hmm.
they have a lot of different tools. So whether they're using their handheld, they can go to a system in our handhelds that gets them there as well. But that's not always that easy for our team. So yeah, to pull out a phone and go into Shifty, and it's like I said, the menu build outs are so key and the allergy information, and we're finding that we're still falling into how is that going to work for us, but it's
Yeah.
absolutely is technology and information at their hands, and they can even show it to the guests at the table to help secure their insecurities of I'm eating out and I don't want to die,
Yeah. It's a real. It's
type of thing. So,
yeah.
but no, I think again, it's just when you're on the floor as a team member, I think our management teams know when are they using something like Shifty or are they
Messing around.
messing around. So,
Right.
it's good. And when I walk into stores and I see two kids at a table with their phones out, going through a index card type system, I think it's great. I like to stand and watch and see how they do.
I love it. Hey, let's wrap it up with one last question. If you were speaking to another multi-unit operator uh, that might be on the fence about Shifty, what would you tell them?
Well, I think first of all, depending on where your training is for multi-unit operators in looking for a better system
Yeah.
or a system that works, I will say that for me, I thought we had really good training coming from a corporate background, taking the best of what I felt at the time
Right.
was the best and incorporating into what we do, what's our menu, what's our structure and how we do things. Again, I think I would tell another multi-unit operator that, yeah, you're going to spend some money monthly, but what's that worth to you when you have, first of all, technology that is accessible to the kid today and understood, and they're comfortable, more comfortable than me or you.
Right.
This is secondhand to them. So when you put that in their hands, and they know more than you quickly. So when I was telling you a minute ago that the operational part, putting it to use versus the implementation, they're much faster with that stuff than we are. You just got to tell them where everything's at. So from a multi-unit operator or an owner of multiple concepts, for me, it helps from a dashboard standpoint in my office to be able to just access both. They're different. And it really helps because what we've found is we bring the two units together monthly and we review the pros and cons of both concepts through Shifty. And we've found that's been really helpful. This location's only been using it for 4 months, but they're further ahead than the other concept that's been
Interesting.
using it for 8 or 9 in some areas, and vice versa. So it really helps play off of each other. But I can tell you that I've asked both teams their thoughts about it, and both concepts, both teams they love it. And really, the checklist function again is you think when you say, "Hey, you got to do pictures," like you're playing Big Brother, but they love it. They think it's great, and you're getting stuff done, and they love that too. They want to get stuff done.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think it's worth the investment. And I think, for us, we kind of had the long vision. We thought, you know what, we're going to do this and we're going to do it for a year without failure. And we paid for it for a year. And we thought, let's really take that long road knowing that we've got to grow into this thing. And I think we're going to find out. I think right now we're already at the one concept. We're seeing the results. And I have no doubt that at this concept, which is a higher, upper scale concept, that it's going to be a no-brainer.
Beautiful. David Hornak, Hotel Development Services, the Gaslight, Brewhouse, and the Pickle and Pig. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking the
Yeah.
time and talking with us.
Right. Well, absolutely pleasure. Glad I could jump on and chat with you for a little bit about this.
Thanks, David. I appreciate it, man.
Yep. Take care.